Hi, everyone. This is Joe Guerrieri. I'm the chapter president for the Faculty Guild at LATTC. I'm just giving a brief PowerPoint presentation to talk a little bit about how to conduct faculty evaluations. This is actually based on a presentation that Marcy Drummond gave about a year ago, so I want to give proper attribution there. But it's just a review of some of the basic elements of evaluation per the contract, and then also added a few slides that cover some of the changes resulting from COVID-19 and an MOU that was signed with the district. So today we're going to go through and review both the AFT agreement and the language there regarding evaluations, the purpose of faculty evaluation, the different types of evaluation. We'll also talk about the timelines for when faculty are evaluated, the folks who actually conduct the evaluations, the ways in which faculty are evaluated, and then some general tips and things that sometimes are overlooked, mistakes that we see that are common. We want to make sure that the process is followed according to the contract, and we want to make sure that we are able to help faculty improve and that we're able to help the committees achieve their goals. And then finally, we will cover the changes that have come about because of the MOU for COVID-19. So when you're looking at the AFT agreement, there are two different sections that address evaluation. The first is Article 19, and the second is Article 42. And then Appendix C, which has a number of the forms and tools that you'll use as part of those evaluations. Article 19 deals with general faculty evaluations for full-time and adjunct faculty. And Article 42 specifically deals with faculty who are undergoing tenure review or probationary faculty. So those are the two main articles that we deal with. And we'll talk about this later, but under COVID-19, there are some adjustments to how those are carried out. So, myth or fact? Some articles in the AFT agreement pertaining to evaluations are open to interpretation and can be followed or not followed. So, fact, this is kind of a gotcha question. A few articles, such as Article 19A, general provisions provide guidelines. However, you have to look for the word shall. Whenever you see the word shall, that means that it must be followed or adhered to. And that's true throughout the contract. Any contract language where you see the word shall, know that that's something that must be done. And the purpose of evaluation. So, myth or fact, the sole purpose of evaluation is to document unsatisfactory teaching performance. That's a myth. There are many purposes for evaluation, and teaching and other contractual and professional obligations are both evaluated in that respect. So it's not just about teaching performance, it's about all aspects of faculty members' professional work. So the purpose of evaluation. Formal evaluations have several purposes. One is you want to recognize strong performance. You also want to look at areas where there's further growth that can be achieved by a faculty member who's performing well. In addition, it's helpful to identify weak performance and assist faculty members in achieving improvement, and then also to document unsatisfactory performance. And the process should be one that is based around the idea of supporting improvement. And that's something we want to consider whenever we're giving an evaluation. It should not be punitive. It's a peer process, and it's something that should be designed to help faculty. So, myth or fact? All faculty are required to be evaluated exactly the same way. That's actually a myth. So there are different types of evaluations with different processes. If you look in the appendices, you'll see different forms for the different types of evaluation. Another myth or fact, there are two types of faculty evaluations, basic and comprehensive. That is actually only two of them. There are 4 types of faculty evaluations. There's a basic, a comprehensive, tenure review, and administrative. The basic evaluation is a much more shortened version of a comprehensive evaluation. If you're a full-time faculty, those evaluations vary. Actually, they alternate every 3 years between basic and comprehensive if you're a full-time tenured faculty member. The tenure review or probationary evaluation occurs each year for the 4 years that the faculty member is probationary. And then finally, you have the administrative evaluation, which is something that is triggered and launched by administration. So myth or fact, the tenure status of a faculty member determines what type of evaluation they receive. That's a myth. There are 3 factors that determine the type of evaluation. One is their tenure or contract status, 2 is the type of assignment, and then 3 is the time that they were last evaluated. And then this chart actually shows the different types of evaluation that one can receive based on their faculty assignment. And so it kind of details what types of assignments they can, what type of evaluation they would get. And you can see that it varies. So different assignments can produce different types of evaluations depending on the situation. So when are faculty evaluations? Myth or fact, evaluations can be conducted during any semester. Well, the truth is that in general, evaluations have different schedules and can be conducted during any semester, but tenure review evaluations have to be conducted in the fall. There are several reasons for that, but part of it is that the evaluation timeline requires that those things be completed in the fall, so if any action needs to be taken, it can be taken in a timely manner. So when you're thinking about planning your evaluations, you want to make sure you have your tenure evaluations planned for the fall. So this chart shows the evaluation schedule for the different types of faculty assignments. And as you can see, as I mentioned before, regular faculty, tenured faculty are evaluated every 3 years, and it varies between basic and comprehensive. Tenure track are every year for the first 4 years of employment. Adjunct faculty are supposed to be reviewed before the end of their second semester, and then they are supposed to be reviewed periodically after that. And then specialized instructors, again, every 3 years, and department chairs should be evaluated at the end of the first year and at least every other year thereafter. Okay, when are faculty evaluated? Myth or fact? An evaluation must be started and completed in the same semester. This is a myth. Comprehensive and tenure review evaluations for regular contract faculty are to conclude by the 12th week of the semester. However, admin evals and evals of adjuncts have different time schedules, so they're not all the same. So in this slide, I've just included a screenshot from Appendix C. It shows part of one of the timelines for an Article 42 evaluation. It actually has the timetables for both the 42 and the 19 evaluations. These are tools that we'll look at later on, but I just wanted to show you that it shows you step by step when in the semester or when in the term the evaluation steps should take place. So, who evaluates faculty? Well, faculty are evaluated in different ways. In a basic evaluation, it's actually just done by the department chair. The chair can evaluate the faculty member, or they can designate a tenured faculty member to do it on their behalf. For a comprehensive evaluation, there is actually a peer review committee that's formed. And for a tenure track probationary committee, there's a tenure review committee that's formed. For an administrative evaluation, it is the VP or their designee who performs the evaluation. So in terms of the peer committee compositions, this slide shows the different compositions based on the type of committee. Comprehensive committees consist of the department chair designee. 2 tenured faculty members, and the VP or designee. Tenure review committee consists of the chair, chair designee if the chair is not tenured, then 2 tenured faculty members, both from the discipline, one who is selected by the evaluee and one by the department. A third tenured faculty member if the 2 tenured faculty above are not from the same discipline. A tenured faculty member not in the department who is selected by the academic senate, so the senate gets a designee. And then finally the appropriate VP or designee. And it should be noted that the VP or designee is a non-voting member. Myth or fact, the evaluee can ask that a member of the peer review committee be replaced. That is a fact. They can if they do a timely challenge, but that has to be received in writing before the date of the peer review committee's first meeting. So you cannot request that there be a change to the composition of the committee after the committee has already met. So that's something to keep in mind. And who evaluates faculty? To the extent practicable, the membership of the tenure review committee shall remain constant. So in general, we do not want to replace members of the tenure review committee. Committee members shall be replaced if one or more of the following occur: if they resign, retire, or become unavailable for continued service, if they'll be on a leave of absence, or if the department chair or vice president vacates their assignment. Otherwise, we want to retain that consistency. It's important that the faculty, that the tenure track faculty member have consistency in their committee as they move from year to year. So how are faculty evaluated? This shows sort of a flow chart for how that occurs. There's a plan that's created, there's a review, there's evaluation, there's a rating, then the group confers, and finally they conclude. And really the evaluation plan is key. It needs to be developed before any data gathering or any other evaluation activities. And the plan should consider the following things: a review of a written improvement plan for the evaluee's professional growth plan, so any prior professional growth plans that were developed, materials that are intended to be requested, and this lists several of the materials that committees can request, and then other materials that you'd want to collect from students, peers, administrators, other types of data collection instruments in Appendix C, and finally the time frame for student evaluations. So there is a suggested evaluation timetable for Article 19 and Article 42 in Appendix C. You want to make sure that all parts of those forms are completed and signed. I showed you a section of Article 42 previously, but when we were talking about the timelines, this, in terms of the form, allows the committee to go through and actually fill out each date that would correspond to the step. So it's a helpful form that you can use from the contract. When you're evaluating a faculty member, you can also consider some of the other duties and obligations that are in the contract, including those found in Appendices Q and L. There are other obligations that faculty have beyond just teaching in the classroom, and those should be considered in addition. Okay, myth or fact. If a faculty member teaches in a program that is accredited, the accrediting agency student evaluation forms can be used in the evaluation process. That is actually a myth. Only the student evaluation forms included in Appendix C can be used. However, the extent to which accrediting agency student evaluation results impact the discipline department can be considered and addressed through evaluation recommendations. So this slide kind of gives a breakdown of the different types of data that are gathered based on the type of evaluation, also the forms that are required to be used, and then when the evaluation should start and by when it should conclude. So this is sort of a helpful reference if you are trying to plan out your evaluations. Okay, myth or fact, peer or tenure review committee members must all agree on the evaluation results and ratings. Well, this is sort of a myth because the reality is that it goes by a majority vote, but dissenting views can be documented and included as part of the summary. This is the basic and comprehensive evaluation summary form that's used in all evaluations with the exception of the exception of administrative evaluations. So this form is what gets turned in at the conclusion of all evaluations, whether they're comprehensive or basic. You can see that it has different categories for each area, and for each one it includes the designation of meets, exceeds, or needs to improve. And then finally, there's an overall evaluation of satisfactory, needs to improve, or unsatisfactory. And then there's areas where people can sign off. In addition to this, there is an opportunity to submit comments. You can see there's a very small box for that. Oftentimes, committees elect to turn in an additional sheet of paper that includes notes or additional comments, as well as additional professional growth plans on a separate sheet. And again, the overall evaluation ratings are satisfactory, needs to improve, or unsatisfactory. If the rating is a needs to improve or unsatisfactory, the evaluator or the committee needs to prepare a written improvement plan. And that has to include professional growth activities to address those issues. The committee may also recommend an administrative evaluation plan. And it's noted here that if there is a written improvement plan or recommendations, those should be prepared on a separate document and attached to the form. So when the peer review committee or the tenure review committee meets, they hold a final evaluation meeting with the evaluee to discuss their findings. That's an important meeting. It's an opportunity for the committee to talk to the evaluee and explain what they found from their data gathering. And it's also an opportunity to answer any questions that the evaluee may have and help guide them in terms of what they should do towards improvement. The committee then forwards the evaluation summary to the evaluee for comment, and the evaluee has 10 days to write a comment back. If the evaluee submits comments, the committee would review them and take actions it determines appropriate. Myth or fact? An evaluation can be considered completed even if the faculty member has not signed it. That is actually a myth. The faculty member needs to sign it. It may be that they don't agree with it, but they're really just signing, acknowledging that they received it. And there is some language there stating that. At the conclusion of the evaluation process, the committee will submit a completed evaluation file, including all data and documents that they've collected to the appropriate VP. The VP then has to do one of the following. They'll either accept the evaluation as it is, or they'll return it to the committee with a written explanation for declining and comments regarding proposed next steps. If the evaluation is returned by the VP, the committee can either revise, correct, amend, or just leave it unchanged. If they do 1, 2, or 3, they must complete the confer steps again, meaning they have to confer with the faculty member one more time. So, a couple of tips. Don't make assumptions when doing the evaluation. Always try to check the AFT agreement. If you have questions after looking at the AFT agreement, please feel free to contact me or Armine Javadian. We can help you answer any questions that you may have. I know it's complicated. Also, it's a good idea to use the timetables and the worksheets. They will provide a lot of guidance for you as you're going through the process. And then don't be afraid to ask questions. And again, just keep referring to the contract. It's all in there. It's just sometimes it may not be obvious to you the first time you're doing it. But we can help guide you to the right information. So these are some common mistakes that we see that result in evaluations being invalidated. One is the evaluation plan needs to go to the evaluee and the VP, and if it's not sent to them, that's a problem. So you want to make sure that that goes out in a timely manner. And then not using the appropriate forms. You can't substitute the official forms in Appendix C with other forms. You have to include a final rating in the comprehensive and basic evaluation summary. So you don't want to miss checking that area and including the final evaluation, the final rating. And then finally, not reviewing who the voting and non-voting members are before votes are taken. So you want to make sure that you review who are the actual voting members on the committee and making sure that the non-voting members aren't voting as part of it. In addition, you want to make sure that you have the required meetings with the faculty who are being evaluated. So you should have one once the plan is actually developed, and you should review that plan with them before the data gathering commences. And then finally, you should have one at the conclusion of the evaluation where you meet with the faculty member and review everything with them. And then three, you may have another meeting if the evaluation is revised or changed after that. Also, you want to notify faculty in advance of observations. So you have to notify faculty when observations will take place, including which courses. You don't have to identify the day and time that you're going to be visiting the course, but you do have to provide a window for when you will be observing. It's also important that when student evaluations are open, the faculty member must be present. So you can't do that without the faculty member being present. There are some slight adjustments to this based on our current situation with COVID that might change that slightly. We do have a system through Canvas that will allow us to collect those student evaluations electronically and maintain the anonymity until the time when the committee meets with the faculty member. So we do have a workaround for that. And then also a written improvement plan is required for evaluation ratings that are either needs to improve or unsatisfactory. And another thing that gets overlooked sometimes is that you need to notify faculty of the comprehensive evaluation option, and you have to ask if they want one. That's required for any overall rating of needs to improve or unsatisfactory on a prior evaluation for adjunct faculty members. And then you need to provide time for the faculty member to respond. They get 10 working days to respond to the evaluation summary. You have to give them that time before you submit it to the VP for final approval. And then you want to commence any follow-up evaluations within the required time period. So there are time limits on when follow-up evaluation occurs that goes into effect, in particular with administrative evaluations. We should note that if a comprehensive evaluation is requested following a basic, that has to commence no later than the next regular semester. And then if an administrative evaluation is needed following an evaluation, that has to start no later than the third week of the following semester. So that takes us to some of the things that have changed under COVID-19 conditions. The Faculty Guild signed an MOU with the district that has basically stated that the only evaluations that will occur in the fall 2020 semester are evaluations of probationary faculty, so those faculty members who are not tenured, and those are under Article 42, and then any non-seniority adjuncts, so adjuncts who have not yet reached the seniority list. If you are a full-time faculty member, right, who has reached tenure, you are not to be evaluated in fall 2020. In addition, if you are an adjunct faculty member who has seniority, you are also not going to be evaluated in fall 2020. And this MOU was agreed to recently, and it is because of the pandemic restrictions that have us working remotely. It's in part to address that. So this is a copy of the MOU that was signed by the district and the faculty guild, explaining how the evaluations for under Articles 42, 16, and 19 will be changed as a result. And I put that here for your review. And it's also available on the AFT website if you want to take a look at that. So a couple of things. Each tenure review committee, as they're working, will want to follow the steps in Article 42C. It's a good idea to make a special notation in the evaluation form stating that it was completed under COVID-19 conditions. You will want to use the appropriate evaluation depending on the type of class that is being taught. So this is important. If the instructor is teaching a course remotely and they are not teaching an asynchronous course that has been designated as an online asynchronous course with TBA hours, that instructor should not be evaluated based on the evaluation that we would use for a standard online course. Meaning, if you're evaluating an instructor who's just taking their course and because of the pandemic they're teaching it through an online modality remotely, they're doing it during the regular course meeting times, you should not be evaluating them based on the way their Canvas course is set up or other evaluation metrics that we would use for an online course. The evaluation should be based on, for example, their Zoom lecture or other things that would be evaluated in a face-to-face course. Okay, so that's something that you want to pay special attention to. Also, when you're looking at the evaluation form, if you find things that are not applicable to the new teaching modality, you should note that that's not applicable instead of marking any boxes if they do not apply. And finally, when you give the evaluee the opportunity to write their self-evaluation, you may want to ask them to address the following. One, to discuss how the modality has reflected a transition in their teaching, and give them the opportunity to talk about that in terms of what they would have done prior to COVID-19 versus what they're now doing in the online modality, and also discuss the efforts made to transition to an online platform. So any changes that they've had to make to their materials, their testing, the way they're teaching. Those are just a few things that we are suggesting for the evaluations that are being conducted in fall 2020 based on the changing format. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, Joe Guerreri, or Armine Javadian, and we'll be happy to assist you. So I've included our contact information here for your reference. Feel free to reach out to either me or Armine if any questions come up. Thank you.